Imagine taking the entire Earth and squeezing it down until it was the size of a single peanut. That is the level of density required to transform our massive planet into a functional black hole. Now, try to visualize taking every single one of the 2 trillion galaxies in the known universe. Take every star, every quasar, every speck of dust, and every human being that has ever lived. Squeeze all of that mass down until it is smaller than a single proton. You have just created a singularity, the starting point of our entire reality. This is exactly where we are heading today, the moment before the Big Bang occurred. We often think of this as the beginning of everything, but what if there was more to the story? Only one way to find out as we prepare to witness a time before space actually existed. To understand where we are going, we first have to ask where the Big Bang happened. Logically, you might think it happened at the very center of our current universe. But the truth is much more complicated because the Big Bang happened everywhere at once. The singularity you're about to visit isn't just sitting in space, it actually is space. Before this tiny dot expanded, there was no outside for you to stand in. All of time and all of space were held inside this incredibly tiny proton-sized prison. It wasn't an explosion of matter into space, but an explosion of space itself. Even though it sounds wild, our universe doesn't actually have a geographical center. Every place is equally a center because everything is moving away from everything else. This means you can't travel to a place where it happened, you have to travel back to when it happened. We are setting the dial for 13.8 billion years into the deep and distant past. Hold on tight as things are about to get very weird very quickly. Starting on Earth today, you will become the first ever human time traveler. As you travel back, you will notice that space doesn't just get younger, it gets smaller. The massive distance between galaxies begins to shrink in a classic cosmic rewind. You will watch as stars don't just streak past you, they actually unexplode. Supernovas will suck their debris back in to become giant burning suns once more. Galaxies will unspin and disperse as their ordered structures turn into chaos. Black holes will suddenly shoot matter and energy out before disappearing into nothingness. You'd be traveling back through a thick, glowing fog of primordial space dust. That dust will get denser and hotter as the universe continues to shrink around you. Soon, even the building blocks of our world, the hydrogen atoms, won't be able to hold together. You are getting close now to the most claustrophobic experience imaginable. The pressure and temperatures will rise to levels that are impossible for the human mind to grasp. It would be like being on an Earth that is being crushed to the size of a peanut, only a billion times worse. In this environment, you would feel a pressure that isn't just pushing on your skin. This pressure would be pushing on your very atoms, breaking the bonds that hold your body together. The forces holding your protons and neutrons together wouldn't be able to resist this crushing weight. You would be ripped apart into a trillion-degree fiery soup of plasma. By the time you reach the point before the Big Bang, space and time technically don't even exist. You would exist outside of reality, alone, with the tiny singularity that is about to become everything. To understand this speck of everything, we must first undo the history of the world. We start by reaching into the gears of the cosmos and turning them backward. Suddenly, the distant light of a billion galaxies begins to shift from red to blue. Time is now flowing in reverse at a speed beyond human comprehension. Look closely as a dying supernova begins to pull its scattered guts back together. The debris cloud collapses into a perfect shining sphere of fire. Across the void, entire solar systems are unforming as planets dissolve into their parent stars. We are flying past the modern era and into the deep past of the Milky Way. As the universe gets smaller, the space between galaxies begins to vanish. Two massive spirals collide, but instead of chaos, they merge into a singular, orderly giant. The dark voids of the cosmic web are shrinking as the matter within them draws closer. Everything you have ever known is being squeezed into an increasingly tight volume. We have passed the 10 billion year mark, and the universe is already half its current size. The first stars are flickering back to life from the ashes of their successors. The temperature of the vacuum itself is starting to rise. Space-time is no longer a cold, empty stage, but a vibrating drum. We are entering the era of the first galaxies, which are smaller and more violent than ours. Quasars, the brightest objects in existence, turn off as their black holes unfeed. The expansion of the universe is now a contraction of unimaginable force. Gravity is no longer a gentle tug, but a crushing embrace. We cross the boundary into the first billion years after the start. The darkness between stars is being replaced by a pervasive, dull glow. Stars are now so close together that they form a single, continuous ocean of light. We have reached the time when the universe was only a few 100 million years old. The very first light of the universe is about to be reabsorbed by the fog of atoms. We are approaching the 380,000 year mark, a wall of light that marks the limit of our sight. Beyond this wall, the universe is no longer transparent. Atoms themselves are starting to tear apart under the rising pressure. Electrons break free from their nuclei, creating a roiling sea of charged particles. The universe is now smaller than our galaxy, and it is white hot. Light can no longer travel in straight lines. It is trapped in a cosmic pinball machine. We are compressing billions of light years into a space the size of a solar system. The temperature reaches millions, then billions of degrees. Reality is becoming a liquid of pure energy. Matter and antimatter are locked in a dance of mutual destruction. We have reached the first 3 minutes of time. Nuclei are forming and then immediately melting back into protons and neutrons. The four fundamental forces of nature begin to merge into one. The universe is now no larger than a grain of sand, yet it contains everything that ever was. We have reached the threshold where our laws of physics start to break. Space and time are becoming so distorted that the concept of where and when loses meaning. The heat is now so intense that even the building blocks of protons are dissolving into a soup. We are microseconds away from the absolute beginning. A strange, high-pitched ringing fills the vacuum as the density becomes infinite. What happens when the container of the universe is smaller than an atom? We are standing at the precipice of the Great Plasma Soup, where everything we know turns into a chaotic storm. The familiar structures of our world are now dissolving into a blinding furnace of pure energy. Gravity is no longer a gentle guide, but a crushing force, pulling every fragment of matter inward. Temperatures soar past billions of degrees as we breach the threshold of the early universe. Light itself cannot travel here, trapped in a thick fog of superheated particles. We have entered the era of recombination in reverse, where electrons are stripped from their nuclei. The stars are gone, replaced by a wall of liquid fire that fills every corner of the horizon. This is the quark-gluon plasma, the most perfect fluid ever known to exist. Every galaxy, every planet, and every person who ever lived is currently a part of this boiling sea. The density is so high that the entire observable universe is now smaller than a solar system. Physical laws that govern our daily lives are beginning to fray at the edges. Protons and neutrons can no longer hold themselves together under this localized pressure. We are descending into a realm where matter is nothing more than a memory. In this state, the four fundamental forces of nature start to merge into one. The sound of the universe is a deafening roar of cosmic vibrations. Friction within the plasma creates massive acoustic peaks that will one day seed the galaxies. The heat is so extreme that even the concept of temperature starts to lose its meaning. Space is shrinking so fast that it feels like the walls of reality are closing in. We are witnessing the chaotic birth of everything from the absolute chaos of nothing. The clock is ticking backwards at an accelerating rate. As we approach the first second, subatomic particles are being crushed together, forced into a state of impossible proximity. The pressure here is equivalent to 1 billion suns pressing down on a single grain of sand. In this era, the universe is 1,000 times smaller than it was just a moment ago. We are now moving through a time when the entire cosmos was the size of a single city. The plasma soup is getting thicker, more vibrant, and infinitely more dangerous. Look closely at the ripples, for they are the blueprints of the great cosmic web. These fluctuations in density are caused by quantum jitter at the smallest scales. As we squeeze tighter, the distinction between matter and energy begins to vanish completely. The sheer weight of the universe is concentrated into a space that could fit in your hand. We are traveling at millions of years per second towards the ultimate beginning. The plasma is now so hot that it begins to emit a light we can no longer see with human eyes. This is the epoch of the grand unification where physics as we know it is born. Every second we go back, the complexity of the universe simplifies into pure symmetry. The vibration of space-time itself is creating a melody that resonates through the void. We are reaching the point where even time itself begins to slow down and stretch. The plasma soup is no longer just hot. It is a living, breathing entity of pure potential. We are entering the first microsecond after the bang, where the Higgs field is finally formed. The universe is now the size of a marble, yet it contains the mass of 2 trillion galaxies. The air is thick with the scent of ozone and the crackle of 1 billion lightning strikes. We are falling faster now, past the point of no return and into the heart of the fire. But as we approach the very center, the light suddenly vanishes into a single, terrifying point of shadow. We hover on the precipice of a darkness so absolute it feels like the end of all things. This single point of shadow is not an empty hole, but the vessel for everything that ever was. Many imagine the Big Bang as a grand explosion echoing into a waiting room of empty space. However, the reality of the singularity is far more profound and difficult to grasp. There was no outside for the universe to expand into because the universe was everything. Imagine a balloon being inflated, but the surface of the balloon is the only dimension that exists. The dots on the balloon move away from each other as the rubber itself grows wider. In the singularity, that rubber surface was compressed into a point of zero size. Every galaxy, every star, and every person you have ever known was squeezed together. The heat in this state was so extreme that it defies our ability to measure it. To understand the beginning, we must stop thinking about space as a container. Space is not a stage where the actors perform. Space is the actor itself. When the Big Bang began, it was the fabric of reality, stretching for the first time. Time, as we perceive it, was also forged in this high-pressure crucible. Before this moment, the word before has no physical meaning. We are looking at a state of existence where gravity itself becomes infinite. How can something so small contain the entire breadth of the observable universe? Physics, as we know it, breaks down when confronted with these conditions. The singularity is a place where general relativity and quantum mechanics collide. It represents the limit of our understanding, a wall we cannot yet see behind. But within this wall, the seeds of every law of nature were being sown. The strength of gravity, the speed of light, all were decided in this instant. If the expansion had been even a fraction slower, the universe would have collapsed instantly. If it had been faster, matter would have never been able to clump together to form stars. The singularity was a perfect balance of terrifying forces. We are tracing our history back to a moment of total unity. Every atom in your body was once touching every atom of every distant star. This is the ultimate connection, the shared origin of the entire cosmos. But as the expansion began, this unity was lost forever. To visualize this expansion, we must discard our intuition of distance. There is no center to this expansion. Every point in space is the center. Imagine standing anywhere in the early universe and seeing everything rushing away from you. This was not a slow growth, but a violent birth of dimensions. The density was so high that light itself was trapped in a chaotic dance. We are approaching the threshold of the known. The pressures are mounting beyond any comprehension. We are seeing the universe in its most raw and powerful state. Every second we move closer, the laws of physics become more unrecognizable. Something is about to happen that will change the course of eternity. A sudden violent twitch in the fabric of space signals the arrival of something even more terrifying than the silence. The violent twitch in the fabric of space reaches a breaking point as the singularity begins to tremble. Suddenly, the laws of physics as we know them are suspended for a fraction of a second. Cosmic inflation begins, an event where space expands faster than the speed of light. This expansion is not matter moving through space, but the creation of space itself. In a period of time shorter than an eye blink, the universe grows from subatomic to the size of a galaxy. You are standing in the middle of a trillion-degree furnace that is surging outward. The sheer energy driving this expansion is so massive, it dwarfs the output of 1 billion suns. Quantum fluctuations are being stretched into large-scale structures across the newly born sky. Gravity and the other fundamental forces begin to separate from their unified state. Even though space is expanding, the density remains unimaginably high. The energy field that triggered this inflation is finally starting to decay. As the inflaton field breaks down, it dumps its remaining energy into heat and particles. This process is known as reheating, and it marks the true start of the Big Bang's fire. You are witnessing the birth of matter from pure, unadulterated energy. tiny variations in density are frozen into place, setting the stage for future galaxies. This period lasted for only 10 to the power of -32 seconds. The temperature is so high that light cannot even travel through the soup. The sheer scale of this event is impossible for a human mind to fully grasp. Shockwaves from the initial burst are still rippling through the newborn dimensions. The universe is now expanded from a point to roughly the size of a football. Gravity is fighting a losing battle against the explosive force of expansion. The pressure inside this bubble is trillions of times greater than at the center of the sun. Every atom that will ever exist in your body is currently just a whisper of energy here. At this stage, the four forces of nature have finally separated completely. The cosmic horizon is rushing away from you at millions of miles per second. The universe is cooling, but only to a few trillion degrees. Somewhere in this chaos, the first primordial black holes might be forming from density spikes. The expansion begins to slow down, but the momentum is already set for billions of years. Space is no longer a tiny dot. It is a vast, boiling ocean of potential. You are seeing the map of the entire future of the cosmos being drawn. The inflation field's final gasps create the last major ripples in the fabric of reality. The universe has now reached the size of our solar system in less time than it takes to snap your fingers. Subatomic particles are colliding and annihilating each other in a frantic dance. A slight imbalance between matter and antimatter ensures that we will eventually exist. This is the furnace where the destiny of everything was forged. The fog is so thick that you feel as if you're buried under a mountain of light. The heat is beginning to stabilize as the expansion energy dissipates. Inflation is over, and the epoch of the hot Big Bang has officially taken over. Yet, amidst the heat and the light, something strange is beginning to hum. A deep, resonant vibration starts to shake the very plasma itself like a gong struck by God. This isn't just movement, it is a sound that will echo through the cosmos forever. The cosmic scream of inflation has subsided into a rhythmic, deep resonance that permeates every corner of the newborn universe. We are now immersed in the baryon acoustic oscillations, the literal sound waves of the early cosmos. Imagine the entire universe acting like the skin of a drum, vibrating with the energy of creation. These waves are born from a violent struggle between the inward pull of gravity and the outward push of radiation. Gravity tries to collapse the hot plasma into dense pockets, while light pressure fights to blow it apart. This cosmic tug of war creates a ringing sound that is 50 octaves below the range of human hearing. If we could speed up time, this silent vibration would transform into a deep, haunting bass note. At this stage, the universe is a thick, opaque fog of electrons and protons trapped in a dance with photons. Light cannot travel far before bumping into a particle, keeping the universe in a state of eternal dusk. This plasma is a perfect conductor for the sound waves, allowing them to travel at over half the speed of light. Every galaxy we see today is positioned where the crest of one of these ancient waves once sat. We are literally walking on the frozen echoes of the Big Bang's first song. As the universe expands, it also cools, changing the pitch of this celestial symphony. The temperature is still millions of degrees, but the cooling process is inevitable. Dark matter, the invisible ghost of the cosmos, begins to gather in the valleys of these waves. Dark matter does not feel the push of light, so it stays clumped together while everything else vibrates. It is the anchor for the visible world, providing the gravitational pits where stars will eventually ignite. But for now, the photons are still too energetic to let any structure form. The universe is a boiling cauldron where the ingredients for life are being violently mixed. Yet, within this chaos, there is a mathematical precision to every vibration. The fundamental constants of physics are being tested in this extreme pressure cooker. If the force of gravity were slightly stronger, the ringing would have stopped too early. If it were weaker, the matter would have drifted away, never to form a single star. We are the product of a perfectly tuned instrument, playing the music of existence. The sound waves continue to expand, pushing the edges of the universe further into the unknown. Hidden within these ripples is a secret map of where every cluster of galaxies will eventually reside. This era lasts for hundreds of thousands of years, a long and noisy childhood for our cosmos. The heat is so extreme that even the most basic elements cannot yet assemble themselves. Can you hear the resonance of the first 3 minutes echoing in the distance? Hydrogen and helium are the only survivors of this intense auditory battering. The universe is preparing for its most significant change yet, a moment of total transformation. The pressure is dropping as the expansion accelerates, thinning out the soup of energy. We are approaching the era of recombination, where light will finally break free from its prison. Every vibration we have witnessed is being etched into the very background of the sky. If you look at the static on an old TV, 1% of it comes from these very sound waves. The sound of creation never actually stopped. It just changed its form. We are living inside the echo of the beginning. The rhythm of the plasma soup still dictates the structure of the stars above us, but as the density continues to fall, the temperature reaches a critical threshold. The universe is about to go quiet, but the silence will be louder than any scream. The first atoms are forming, capturing the electrons that once blocked the light. The fog is thinning, and the universe is preparing to show its true face for the first time. We are on the brink of the greatest revelation in history, the birth of light. But as the first photons prepare to fly, something in the deep shadows begins to pull back. The transition from opaque to transparent is not just a change in light, it is a change in reality. For hundreds of millennia, the universe remains a glowing, impenetrable fog of searing heat. Every photon of light is trapped in a relentless game of cosmic pinball. The temperature is still far too high for electrons to settle into orbits around nuclei. Without neutral atoms, the universe acts like a thick, glowing wall of milk. But as the seconds turn into centuries, the Great Expansion continues to cool the cosmic furnace. We are approaching the 380,000-year mark since the initial spark of creation. The temperature finally drops to roughly 3,000 degrees Kelvin. Suddenly, a cosmic phase transition begins to sweep across the entirety of space. Free electrons finally lose enough energy to be captured by wandering protons. This is the era of recombination, the birth of the first stable hydrogen atoms. As the electrons are bound, the light that was once trapped is suddenly set free. In one magnificent moment, the foggy universe becomes perfectly transparent. These liberated photons begin their long journey through the expanding vacuum. This light carries the final image of the universe as it was billions of years ago. We call this ancient light the cosmic microwave background radiation. It is the oldest photograph we can ever take of our cosmic home. The tiny fluctuations in this light represent the seeds of everything we know. Areas that are slightly denser will eventually collapse to form galaxies and stars. However, as the light escapes, the universe enters a long period of silence. No stars have yet ignited to pierce the encroaching shadows. This era is known to astronomers as the Dark Ages of the cosmos. Light is no longer interacting with matter, allowing it to stretch and redden. The universe is now a vast, cold ocean of hydrogen and helium gas. Gravity begins its patient, invisible work on these cold structures. Each molecule of gas is a potential building block for a future world. Thousands of years pass in total darkness as density builds. Pressure at the center of these clouds starts to climb to unthinkable levels. We are witnessing the first stirrings of the cosmic dawn. The very first generation of stars is about to illuminate the void. These giants will be hundreds of times more massive than our own sun. As they burn, they create the first heavy elements in their cores. Without these first stars, the universe would have remained a cold, dead place. The light from these stars begins to re-ionize the surrounding gas. We have traveled through the transition from chaos to structure. But this story of light and matter is only half of the mystery. To understand the beginning, we must look even further back than the light. We must confront the mathematical limits of our current understanding of physics. What lies behind the wall of the Big Bang itself? Is the singularity a true end, or simply a door to another reality? The screen begins to distort as the laws of physics start to crumble around us. Shadows of other worlds seem to flicker in the static of our own creation. Something is waiting on the other side of the 0 point of time? As we cross the threshold, the very concept of before begins to lose its meaning. We stand now at the absolute precipice of human understanding, where the laws of physics simply cease to function. If the Big Bang was the beginning of time itself, then asking what came before is like asking what is north of the North Pole. Yet, the human mind refuses to accept a void, pushing our equations to seek a hidden history prior to the first spark. One compelling theory suggests that our universe did not begin from nothing, but was born from the remains of a previous one. This concept, known as the Big Bounce, envisions a universe that eternally collapses and expands like a cosmic lung. In this model, the singularity is not an endpoint, but a transition gate where gravity turns into a repulsive force. Imagine a previous cosmos, perhaps filled with its own stars and life, slowly crushing down under its own weight. As it reaches the ultimate density, the quantum effects take over, preventing a total collapse into nothingness. Then, like a compressed spring released, it explodes outward in the event we call the Big Bang. But what if our universe is just one bubble in an infinite sea of others, a vast and complex multiverse? In this scenario, every bubble might have different laws of physics, different constants, and different destinies. We may be part of an eternal tree of life where black holes in one universe act as the seeds for new ones. Each of these theories offers a way to escape the terrifying concept of an absolute beginning from nothing. Perhaps time is not a line with a start and an end, but a circle that has always existed. We have traveled through the heart of stars and the crushing grip of the singularity to reach this realization. Our atoms are the survivors of a journey that spans billions of years and billions of miles. The carbon in our DNA was forged in the bellies of stars that died long before the Earth was even a thought. We are the way the universe has found to look back at itself and wonder about its origins. The journey back to the beginning has shown us that there is no outside to the cosmos. We are not separate observers, but an intrinsic part of this grand unfolding mystery. As we conclude this voyage, we find that the end of our search is just the beginning of a deeper understanding. The singularity is not a wall, but a window into the infinite possibilities of existence. The silence of the void is no longer frightening, for we know it is filled with the echoes of creation. We return now to our small blue home, carrying the perspective of the entire timeline within us. The questions will remain, but the fear of the unknown has been replaced by a sense of belonging. If the universe can emerge from a single point, then anything is possible within its vast expanse. We are the children of the Big Bang, the siblings of the stars, and the architects of the future. Every breath we take is a testament to the 13.8 billion years of survival that preceded us. The singularity waits at the end of time as well, in the hearts of black holes and the eventual fate of the cosmos. But we no longer view it as a grave, but as a potential womb for whatever comes next. Science will continue to peel back the layers of reality, searching for the ultimate truth. We thank the cosmos for the brief moment of awareness we are granted in its eternal dance. The journey to the beginning has led us back to ourselves, changed and enlightened. Space and time may be finite or infinite, but our curiosity knows no bounds. We are the storytellers of the void, translating the silence of the stars into the language of the soul. As the final light fades from this chapter, the echo of the beginning remains within us all. There is a profound beauty in knowing that we are made of the same stuff as the first moment of time. Let us walk forward into the future, no longer afraid of where we came from. For in the beginning we were there, and in the end we shall return to the light. The mystery of the beginning is the ultimate gift of the universe to its conscious children. And so, the voyage ends where it always must, in the quiet wonder of a star-filled night.